So first, let me say that I love baby noises. So I had to say that out loud. We are all here for baby noises. So please, baby noises, love it. So I don't know about you, but whenever I travel, particularly if I travel to Europe, and I feel very blessed that I get to do that. I got to do that this year, as you know. I lived in England for a year. Whenever traveling in Europe, the fun thing to do, or the interesting thing to do, is to visit the town squares. Don't you agree? Like the town squares, like where everyone sort of kind of gets together. Usually there's a glockenspiel of some kind. Yeah, I did pull out the word glockenspiel. Clocks, right? Cathedrals, churches, usually often in these town squares. Probably in all of my travels, my favorite town square is the town square in Prague. Has anyone been there? The town square in Prague? The oldest part of this complex consists of the beautiful Gothic tower with a bay chapel and a medieval astronomical clock. Every hour between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. So at least they give you night. That's nice. It does its little dance. Have you ever seen it? It's the 12 apostles or disciples doing their little dance kind of around. And wherever you go in Europe, you see images of the disciples, right? All of them in different kind of forms. And what do you know is the identifying thing for Peter? Can you guess? So that when you're far away and you see these kind of men going around, what maybe lets us know that that one's Peter? Does anyone know? Keys, right? From this passage, right? He holds the keys. Peter is the figurine in the dancing clock. He's in the tower, and he's holding the keys outside the basilica. This part of the gospel story, again, is where we get that notion, not only of church, because the called out ones, the assembly, the ecclesia, right? This is the first time it's mentioned. This new faith gathering where Jesus comments on what it will look like. That it will be a rock. That Hades won't prevail against it. That the work of the church matters into eternity. What we do here on earth matters. And then Jesus says even something more remarkable, something he rarely does. He orders them to keep a secret, right? Keep a secret. He gives them the keys to the kingdom, and then he goes, shh, that wasn't meant for you. That wasn't meant for you. Just really well-timed sermon. I was going to follow that with, you'll never tell, but that feels creepy, and there's kids, and so here we are. In ancient literature, keys symbolized mysteries or secrets or hidden wisdom being unlocked. Keys opened doors to new places. It was a threshold moment. If someone had a key, you knew that something new was happening, some new information, some new wisdom, some new journey, right? They were going through a door of some kind. And so this entire conversation is actually that threshold moment. Not only do we use it to talk about the church and to talk about Peter and to talk about power, but what's interesting is where they are. So they are at Caesarea Philippi. You did a great job. It's hard. I know some of these words are really, really hard. So they're in a specific place. They're not where they normally are. They have traveled. They've taken a detour, if you will. So they are in the ancient world, as it still is today, naming something after a person is very political, right? So this location is named after Caesar Augustus, and then his successor later, Philippi, right? So Philip. So this place where they are has been named. I know, imagine someone alive naming things politically. I know, you can't imagine it, but that is what has happened. That is what has happened. So they're in this place that's very political and full of all kinds of rocks, right? So it's not unusual that this is the language that's coming out of this. So this is the place they go in order to have the conversation. It's not a neutral location. It's a location full of, again, stone edifices and representations of imperial theology and the power of empire. Because as we know, we say Jesus is Lord because Caesar said Caesar is Lord, right? That was what was going on in the imperial cult as they worshipped. It's sort of like a conservationist sitting outside of a petroleum plastics factory saying, who do you say I am, right? The context gives you clues as to what is maybe going on. It's provocative. It's jarring. So they are in a place where Caesar is called Lord, And the way of violence is the way of persuasion and getting what you want and getting power. And so this is the location that Jesus chooses to teach them the lesson and ask them a curious question. Who do you say that I am? Now, this isn't a test. I think he just really wants to know who that they think he is. Who are they with? They've been with him for a while. Do they understand yet? Again, he isn't asking to test them, but to remind them that the way of Jesus represents a different vision of the good life than the one that they are standing in this city. In context, the notion of calling Jesus God as a Christ figure of salvation isn't necessarily a religious claim. It is a declaration that they realize that Jesus' message is of God, one of generosity and compassion and equality and nonviolence, different than the world that they are standing around, different than the city they are in, different than the town square and that glockenspiel that is playing, Caesar is Lord. That this new wisdom is what will be the foundation for the next community of faith that is coming. That their new role is doing the work on earth that matters and goes on unto heaven, unto eternity. And, awkwardly enough, they're not supposed to tell anyone. Don't you find that weird? I've always found that very, very interesting, right? It's like, here is this big revelation, but we're not supposed to tell. We're supposed to keep it a secret. Again, I think the most significant truth we find out here in this moment is that the question never was, who was God? Who did you think I was? But who do you say that I am? Right now, God is working. How do you think that goes? Who do you think I am? What do you think is happening right now? Because God is not in the past. God is working through Jesus in this moment. God works now. God's prophets are not only in the past. God's words are not only in the past. God's truth is not only in the past, but it's also in the present. And they're walking a tightrope now, right? Fall on one side and you have Jesus, the powerful political leader, making a name for himself by authoritarian actions and shows of strength and popularity, and he will side with the powerful. That's one way he could go. And on the other side is the very real threat, again, on the other side of this story, that he poses to the religious rulers and the leaders in the Roman Empire, and that is dangerous for them all. He doesn't want them to use his name for popularity and power and glory, and he doesn't want to put them in harm's way for their association with him. And I think that's what the order to be quiet is about. Again, shh, he tells them. I think what he's saying is this: don't shout like the angry leaders of your day. Don't put my name everywhere as a sign of your devotion. You don't need to bluster about or be afraid. There's no t-shirt to wear. There's no flag to wave. There's no power trip to be a part of. Because what is true is you, Peter, who said this true thing, have the keys to the kingdom. And what you do with that power is far more impactful than anything you will say or wear or pronounce or proclaim. What we do on earth matters, and it has an impact on the heavens and on eternity and on the atmosphere all around us. How do you build this new way of Jesus, he's asking. And the answer is through their very lives. Actions, as we know, speak louder than truth sometimes. And oftentimes, actions speak way more effectively than words ever could. And so Jesus says, on this rock, the truth of who Jesus is, we will build an assembly that demonstrates that belief in a living, speaking, incarnate God, a God of freedom and not oppression, a God of justice, love, and peace, is not only possible, but it is here, and it is now. And with these keys, again, let us think through, let us build together the realm that sets us free, right? That opens the door to new things, that sets everyone we meet free, that allows us to be the good neighbor that we have been asked to be by Jesus, right? And so, we only keep the words a secret. We only keep the words a secret. Because if you're living your life in such a way, people will know it. People will know it. People will know it. People will know that God is a part of your life, that something beautiful is happening, that something effervescent is real, that God's words are true because we have lived it out in our lives. Because with the power we've been given, the keys to the kingdom, as it were, we have set people free and unburden them. And that is our mantra. That is our gift. And that is our light. And not only that, that is what we're supposed to do as a church. So church, beloved, beloved church, whatever the edifices look like in this place in 20 years, I hope that we're still here doing the good work of loving neighbor, caring for this earth, and caring for the world. Because that is what this all is about. You got the keys. What are you going to do with them? Amen.